pretty soon. The same thing with our lit music. We will go to Uganda and to Tanzania. And you can see all these innovations are hinged on our core competences. That's competence in content and audience aggregation. The events, if you reflect the earlier slide, there were the items on the left, which were the new areas that are going to give us significant growth. The first one, which has been on for some time now, to the farmers, and we also give an opportunity to the advertisers to come and showcase their product. That has performed very well, and anybody you talk to, they'll tell you the good performance and the interaction with the seeds of gold. Mr. John Kimani earlier on was telling me that he felt that even the government should actually sponsor the seeds of gold, because we are subsidizing a significant responsibility of the government, that is support on agriculture, which is one of the leading sectors of the economy. Then the Leadership Forum has, again, we've moved it to, we don't have a television station, but we have an online TV in Tanzania. Then in Uganda, we have My, which is an online lifestyle interaction. Then I talked about too long ago, we had the World Cup, and for the first time, NTV brought to you 34 matches of the World Cup. The impact of this was, out of that, 726 million is overdue. Overdue means above 90 days. And when any advertising for the government until they pay us this debt. And we are very clear on that, yeah? So what we are doing, in fact, what has happened is we've been able to discover that there are other opportunities. And in the process, we actually are seeking alternative sources, new areas to actually compensate us for the drop in government advertising. That has gone on for the from 1st of July, and the discussions are still on, and the chairman will explain to us, because like I said, it's a significant amount, yeah? And then on top of this, this is mainly the central government. The county governments also owe us some money, but the county governments are paying, and it's a matter of time before they clear the outstanding debt. And this is a problem which is affecting all the media houses. And if you've been reading newspapers, you've seen quite a lot of literature and a lot of discussions around this, and there are a number of things that, a number of areas that we've covered. We remember this one. NTV was off air from, I think, around 31st or 30th of January to around 7th of February. That had its own implication on our business because we still maintained the business as is, but we could not bill, we could not invoice our advertisers for the advertising that was supposed to run around that time. And then it had also a spillover impact in the days that followed, because advertisers, especially the big corporates, adopted a slight wait-and-see approach and let us see what's happening until we went into the handshake. Yeah? That is our social responsibility. Again, if you notice, is significantly around the quality of education, around education. We've gone around many schools that are deserving. We've given books. We've supported Mama Fatuma Goodwill Children, Mama Fatuma Goodwill Children, and that's around the SDGs, the Sustainable Goals Development, Sustainable Development Goals. It's aligned to CSR. Excellency, we've also performed well. We have won awards on Kuza Awards, Media Council. We've won awards in the East African Business Council, and that tells you who we are. Then that's just a summary of the highlights. Now we go to the main the main to the results, to the performance. Now, the first slide looks at the divisional performance. We've got the Daily Nation. The Daily Nation overall revenue, both circulation and advertising, was 9% behind last year, mainly because the political events affected the first quarter. The first quarter was significantly affected. Most corporates, most multinationals adopted a wait-and-see approach and therefore held back on advertising. Our costs are down, and overall NND, or the Daily Nation, is 13% behind. The East African performance revenue wisely on the top line, those ones are not politically related, yeah? So you find the top line, both Business Daily and the East African, the top line remained flat. Mwananchi, not Mwananchi, but Monitor in Uganda grew, and then Mwananchi was also suffered a lot. We've had a lot of challenges in Tanzania, and government advertising also in Tanzania has dropped. There's significant reduction from the government, and that has affected Mwananchi. Although, because of cost-saving initiatives, Mwananchi's performance is above last year, and Monitor also. Now, NTV in Kenya and in Uganda. In Uganda, the top line grew, but we also invested significantly on programming and on staff because of increased competition, and the bottom line is 32% down. Then NTV Kenya was affected by the events of the first quarter. NTV and NND were affected by the events of the first quarter, and you can see the performance is actually significantly behind last year. But I think the issue is also the numbers, The numbers are also, although it's showing a significant drop, but the numbers are not significantly material. Now, what does this mean to the overall performance? Oh, sorry, digital. Digital, I showed this earlier on, top line growing and bottom line growing, although we are going to invest more on this area, and maybe that bottom line might not grow as much as we can see, but the top line will continue to grow. Now, the group performance is the next slide. The turnover overall for the group was down 6.7%, mainly driven by the performance of the Daily Nation and NTV Kenya, whose performance was below last year because of the first quarter. Then cost of sales, overall, our cost of sales was 11% behind last year. That's an indication that the initiatives we have taken in place on improving performance and improving our operations are yielding fruits, and that's, you can see that has been consistent. From 2016, we've been able to manage our costs well. So that works on the margins. Margins are actually growing by the same rate. The total cost, our total cost, this total cost includes a provision for bad debts, a provision for overdue debt. And if you remove the overdue debt component, the total costs actually dropped. But if you include the overdue debt provision, total costs went up by 1.4%. Then that is a slide that shows the overall performance. At the top is the turnover, which is 6.7. Then we've shown the provision for overdue debt as a separate figure. The earlier figure I showed you was 800. Out of that, we've provided 726. The figure that we've provided for in 2018 is 291 million. And then we also, in Uganda, especially and Tanzania, there was significant depreciation of the currency. So we also had an impact on our deposits in that country. And then at the bottom, there's a figure on other comprehensive income of 74 million. We translate our shareholder balances when doing consolidation from Uganda shillings to Kenya shillings and from Tanzania shillings to Kenya shillings. The depreciation of the currency in those two countries significantly led to that 74 million. It's actually a translation loss, which a significant part of it, especially in Uganda, has reversed because the currency has strengthened. So the performance, if you look at the top line, under the circumstances, is a good performance. And if you look at the performance excluding the government debt, is also very good under the circumstances. And the good thing is that when the government pays us, we are very prudent, and we have actually provided. When the government pays us, this money will come back, and this performance actually can double. Because if we get the 800, that 1.1 will go to, if you get the 700 or 800, that 1.1 will go almost 2 billion. That's the real impact of the performance. That is a balance sheet, still a very strong balance sheet. Bottom line, we grew the balance sheet. That's a cash position, also still very strong despite the drop in earnings. And that's the impact on the net earnings, a significant drop in net earnings from compared to the previous year. But again, it is one big figure that has actually distorted that performance. So I'll call the chairman to talk to us and share with us some of the thoughts and discussions. Yeah, we'll have questions at the end of the chairman's presentation. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen. Good morning. I'll be quite brief because I think Stephen has covered most of the issues around the performance half year of 2018. But I think from looking at the figures that have been presented by Stephen, it is quite clear that the legacy media are under very strong challenges, facing very strong challenges. You can see that both from the top line, which has been declining over the years, and you have also seen, and also the other factors that we talked about, like the government debt and so on. They have been quite challenging. But that was not totally expected, because I think what the legacy media has been going through is really the digital disruption, which came 6-7 years back when we went digital. No, in fact, maybe more than 10 years now we've been going through the digital disruption, and therefore what we are seeing is not totally expected. So basically what we have been trying to do at Nation Media Group in terms of our strategy is to accept the fact that the legacy media, particularly in the print media, that's not where the future of the media is, and that is quite clear. And therefore our focus and our strategy has been to look at other areas, where we diversify, taking into account the reality on the ground that legacy media is not going to be making significant contributions to our bottom line going forward. And I'm very happy that when you look at the various digital platforms that we have over time, Nation Media Group is in a class of its own, because when you talk about the reach, looking at all the digital platforms that we have, we literally are meeting tens of millions of people we are interacting with daily. And this is really very encouraging, and where the future is. The challenge really has been on monetizing all the people that are interacting and coming through our various platforms in various ways and through our various products. But that's not a unique problem with the Nation Media Group. I think it's a challenge that all the media around the world are facing. But I think we are making some progress. And I'm very happy to say that from a strategy perspective, we are expecting that the digital platforms will be contributing something like 10 to 15% of our bottom line within the next couple of years, and that is quite significant. But in terms of audience, we are interacting with hundreds of millions of people every day, and sooner or later we're going to be able to monetize it, and therefore going forward. I want to talk about, so going forward, I think Stephen was quite categorical that some of the things that are contributing to our not so strong performance in the first half of this year were mainly driven by political circumstances. And I think those people who are in business, everybody you talk to, you find that the environment here, and Nation Media Group, particularly the Daily Nation, has a significant contribution to our overall results. The business climate was not good in the first half of this year, and particularly the first 3 months of this year, which was also a culmination and also a continuation of what happened throughout 2017. We are therefore quite happy that the political climate has changed, and therefore businesses are beginning to look up, and we are very optimistic that we should be able to see that reflected in our second half performance, going forward. I want to, with your permission, to just talk about a couple of things that are quite worrying from the media perspective. And the first one, may be talking about our values. We have tried to explain quite frequently about what the nation stands for. And at the pain of maybe repeating myself, I want to remind the people why Nation Media Group exists in the first place. And I think it is a very simple thing that people need to understand where we are coming from. And we just exist simply to serve the people. Just to serve the people. That's what it is all about. And in serving the people, occasionally we make a little bit of money here and there. But we don't exist here primarily as our focal point that we make so much money. That is not really our core value. But we know if we serve the people well, we will make a profit and we will give a return to our shareholders. Because if we don't serve the people, then we don't have a business. And it is in that context that you'll find that you have noted recently that NMG has aggressively championed matters on corruption, transparency and accountability within our public institutions. And we have done this without fear and favor, and calling to account those in authority and leadership. We have done this very deliberately because we think that's the right thing to do, and because we think that is what is going to help this country going forward. Because when you look at what all the stories you're hearing every day, it should make us really worry quite a lot, because in terms of just the public waste of public resources, the stealing, the corruption and everything else, it is very, and this is why we think as a Nation Media Group, we make no apologies for the exposures that we continue to do, and will continue to name and shame the perpetrators of corruption. As you know, we have uncovered a number of scandals from NYS, the mist scandals, the sugar, the Kenya Power, the KPCs of this world, the land, everything. Yeah, and we will continue to do that. And this is what we have done since our inception. One of the things, maybe those of you who read the papers today, and I want to say this, where the media freedom is again under threat, I want to remind you about what happened last night, about the three of our journalists, I think Winnie, Laban, and Karim, who were covering an event because of all this frenzy on land grabbing everywhere, from riparian sites to the beach now. And there's no difference between a riparian area and a beach. And these three journalists went to cover a construction site going on the north coast, and they were badly beaten up by the workers, even perhaps even assisted by the police, you know, put in handcuffs and marched to, I think, Baburi police station. And it's really sad because the last time I checked, public beaches are public areas for anybody to go. And you can take pictures on any of the Kenyan beaches because they are not restricted areas. So how does anybody even purport to take a journalist to lock them up because they were taking pictures on a public beach? Really? Public beach? It's not State House they were taking pictures of, which are restricted areas. It's a public beach. And the only thing that was on that beach are the excavators that were excavating the sand on the beach to build whatever it is they were building there. Not only that, but we also hear from the story, if the story is correct, and I have no reason to believe it is not, the property is guarded 24/7 by policemen. And I wonder, how do Kenya policemen come into guarding private property? Yeah? Because it belongs to somebody way up there. This is the kind of thing that I think as a Nation Media Group, we have to stand very, very firmly and say impunity, enough is enough, and we have to stop this kind of nonsense. The people were beaten up, yeah? The girl Winnie had to hide herself in the toilet for 3-4 hours because she was fearing for her life. That's sad. Why? Because some man is building on the beach and stopping people from enjoying the beach. This is not acceptable. And this is what we are talking about. It's not only that. You look at other people that we keep on coming with the stories. People who have built on riparian rivers now say, you know, now you move the river. Yeah, leave my building alone. I have invested. I wonder who came first, the river or the developer? I think that river has been there for maybe 5, 6, 10,000 years. And you come and build your little thing there, and then you say, you move. You know, who found who where? Yeah? Because you cannot purport to move a river because the building is too close to the river, and you found the river there, surely. Okay? And there are laws. So, media is under threat. Only last week, some journalists from the People newspapers, again, we are beaten up for no good reason. And I must say that even the Kenyan public, the public needs to feel outraged by this kind of abuse of our journalists, because all they are doing is covering what is happening and informing the citizens about what's happening in their country. Is it proper that a public beach should be grabbed by somebody so that he can have a 5-star hotel, so that he can benefit him and his family, and then to the detriment so that the people who go to enjoy the beach have no access to the beach? They have to go through during the high tide, they have to wade through the sea to cross to the other side. What kind of nonsense is this? Yeah? It's not proper. And therefore, I want to really say that as a Nation Media Group, we pledge to our consumers, partners, and stakeholders that we remain independent, steadfast, and true to our values, and we'll constantly try to do whatever it is to fight for the common man, because I think that is the right thing to do, because that is how we think we'll positively influence the society. I'm sorry if I look a bit emotional, but this is something that really touches my heart when I see my journalists assaulted in such a savage manner. It's not a joking matter. It's not a joking matter. And we must let the journalists do their work, just like those people whom we are paying with the public funds. Whatever job we have given them to do, we respect them and we let them do their work. But so they should also let us do our work, and the journalists to carry out their job. The other thing that is also very disturbing about the government debt, and here I'm not just talking about the debt that the government owes Nation Media Group, but I want to talk on a wider thing about that you find that the level of impunity we are seeing in the government today, where they take services and goods from the average wananchi and do not pay those debts. It's criminal and unacceptable. How do you get a small SME, a small mamaduka, supplies you vegetables or whatever it is, and then you don't pay them at the end of the month? And yet, we pay taxes so that the government can run all their functions, including whatever activities they want to do. How can then they expect then you tax the citizenry, and then they supply you with goods and you don't pay them? That's double taxation, and that's not also acceptable. Because the government should be the best debtor that anybody could have, because they own all the money and all the wealth in the country. But now that's not the case today, because the government is the worst debtor that anyone could have. I just wondered, when you come to think about all the money they owe everybody, if they were to default on the money they borrow from IMF or World Bank, what do you think would happen to this country? Yeah? Do you think the Eurobonds that we go and borrow from, that the government would default that they are doing? In the media, they owe some of this money going back 3 years. What do you think would happen to the country if the Eurobond or the due date is supposed to be repaid was not repaid? Yeah? This country will go down the chute. So why should the government today continue to think that they can continue to enjoy credit from its own citizenry and not pay? It's a matter of conscience. It's a matter of conscience. And we want to say very, very clearly here that this has to stop. If the government doesn't have money for goods and services, let them not take those services from the people who supply those services. If they don't have money for advertising, they don't need to take advertising. If they don't have money to pay for whoever they owe, let them not do that. But it's not proper where you get services and then you don't pay. Yeah? The banks currently are going, I also run a bank. The banks are going through a very hard time because of non-performing loans. Yeah? And most of the stories that we are told by our customers is because the government has not paid us for 2 years, has not paid us for 6 months, and so on and so on. So I want to say that on that government debt, you have seen the impact on the Nation Media Group. When you look at the provisions of 290 million shillings that we have made a provision for, it would have made a significant impact on our profitability, and will not be reporting the kind of poor results we are reporting today. And that cuts across the board. So on the government advertising agency, I think that was a very poor thought. There was no need for that agency to be created in the first place. I don't see why the government should be competing with little SMEs and small media advertising agencies to do whatever it is. And I think it should be scrapped, because if anything, it's just an embarrassment to the government. It now has cost the government, the government is now owing 3 billion shillings to the media houses. So what purpose is it serving? Nothing. And I think the government has better things to do than getting involved in petty little businesses like advertising. I think they have better things to do, to go and create food, build hospitals, build roads, airports, ports, whatever it is. They have better things to do than getting involved in a 3 billion enterprise business. I think that is shallow thinking, if you ask me. Very shallow thinking, getting into... we don't expect the government to start hawking things on the streets of Nairobi, and that's exactly what they are doing today. Shame on them. I want to finally end my remarks today. Today I'm not a happy man, I think, from what I'm seeing here. But I want to end my remarks and saying, the last time I talked about that some of the challenges we are facing in Tanzania, where again, through legislation, we were forced to take on partners we didn't need, but to conform with the law, because our media business there has to be, by law, owned 51% by the locals. So we went ahead and we shopped, and we got a good guy who is now our partner in Mwananchi Communications Limited business. He owns 51%, and we went and we did an arm's length deal with that. So we have conformed with the law. But it was very surprising that even while they said, okay, you have conformed with the law, but they still came back and say, but your Saturday edition does not meet the criteria. Sometimes you feel like you could give up. I don't know how the Friday edition, which is manned by the same people, giving basically the same stories, the Friday edition is okay, the Sunday edition is okay, the Saturday edition is not okay. So what does that tell you? So we still have that, but at least we have sorted that one out, and therefore we should see greater stability in Mwananchi Communications Limited. So, the investors, I think what you came for is to hear whether there is, after all the story that Stephen was trying to give you here. So what does this all translate to in terms of money? And the directors met and have resolved to declare an interim dividend of £1.50, which is 60% per share, 2017. We paid $250, and I think the reason for that is, I think, compared to last year, I think the first one we had paid $250. This year we are proposing $150, mainly because of the things that you have seen. We are hoping that we will relook at that maybe when we see how the second half is going, because I think the decline in the dividends is due to the performance affected by the decline of the profitability that you saw there, and also the need for us to invest in new media platforms. So I want to conclude by saying that although outlook is challenging, as a board, we are confident with the actions being undertaken by the group to mitigate the adverse impact of the economy, such as identification of new revenue streams, measures taken in pushing for the clearance government debt, and reviewing our cost structure. So I want to say that with that, I think 150 is not what we had hoped to do. We had hoped to do better, but then we are not sure. If I was certain that we can collect the 700 million that we are owed today, we would have declared a dividend of 250 or more. But I think we wait and see. It depends very much on how much we can trust the government to honor their bill. They are making some noises, but there is nothing on the table yet. We are being pushed like a ping pong ball from Treasury to ICT ministries to somebody. We're throwing, we can't pay you. The Treasury has not given us money. I think that's a lot of smoke screen, because I think ministries work on a particular budget, but we suspect money has been diverted elsewhere. And we think that the DPP will look at this and see where that money went, so that hopefully we can get hold of it. So thank you so much for coming, and I think we'll be now happy to take any questions you have. The bottom line, we are still at a very tough and working environment, but we are doing the best to mitigate that by investing more in the digital platforms, which is the future for this group. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's please appreciate our chairman, Mr. Wilfred Kiboro. That's the state of affairs. I should mention that also the chairman of the Editors Guild, that's Churchill Otieno, also issued a very comprehensive statement regarding the harassment of our journalists. And I just want him to raise his hand wherever he is. So we are fully covered at NMG. So I would say that that is actually something that is well at our heart. At this point in time also, I'm going to ask my colleague anchors, I'm just brief that before we do the Q&A, there's a session where we were also to introduce them. So I don't know if Mark Masai is in the room now. If not, I'm going to ask Trevor Mbija to please come up. We're just going to do a quick round of introductions. Please, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you the anchor team. I know you saw a picture of them. My colleagues, please make your way to the front. We're going to just come up for a quick round of introduction, and then I can open up the floor. So Trevor and the team. So Sean, Brian, Kaltoon, guys, come up on stage. Let's give them a round of applause, please. So I have been directed that I'll pass the mic, and each of them will say the name and what they do. Over to you guys. Who wants to go first?
Good morning. In the spirit of the handshake, since I can't come around, just wave kindly. Thank you very much. I know, like Chairman has said, it's not been a very good time for us. But one thing that I can assure you, let's rewind that. You know, the thing about journalists is we talk a lot. So sometimes we are paid to talk, so sometimes we just get into the conversation. Let's start this from the top. First of all, my name is Trevor Mbija. It's very nice to see all of you this morning. I'm one of the anchors at NTV, a reporter, an associate producer, a jack of all trades, basically. Having said that, what I wanted to say is, since we have a bit of a turbulent time right now, I wanted to assure you that the team is doing everything possible to bring back the light to Nation Media Group. And we are going to make sure your money is taken care of. Like the sailors always say, no wind favors he who has no direction. We're in a turbulent time, but we know where we are heading. That is the assurance I wanted to give you. So do not be afraid. We have you covered.
Habari za asubuhi. Nitaomba radhi kwanza, nitazungumza kwa Kiswahili. Nitaomba radhi kwa mara nyingine sauti yangu sio nzito kama ya mwenzangu. Lakini cha msingi ni kukokoteza alichokisema kwamba kinachodumu daima ni mabadiliko. Mabadiliko hayawezi kuzuilika. Na tunachokifanya hapa NMG, tunakumbatiana na mabadiliko. Na Waswahili husema ukipewa kilema unapewa na mwendo. Huwezi kuwa kilema ukashindwa kutembea. Kwa hiyo hata vilema wote, viwete, viguru, vipofu, tunapitana nao katika mitaa na vile vile katika jiji. Sio kwamba wana kilema au ni vipofu hawatembei. Kwa hiyo ni thibati na ushahidi tosha kwamba bado tunasonga mbele. Na kitaeleweka. Asanteni. Samahani tena. Jina langu ni Harith Salim. Nimekuwepo kwa sasa, nafikiri huu ni mwaka wa 11. Na bado nipo sana tu.
A very good morning. I'm Zainab Ismail, one of the new faces on NTV as a news anchor, co-anchor to Trevor Mbija. I'm not much of a poet like my fellow colleagues, so I'll make it very simple. I'm very excited to be part of this team, and the ship has sailed, and we're looking forward to reaching greater heights. So thank you so much.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Brian Otwal, NTV Sport. In sports, we talk less but play more. So we'll keep on playing and bring in more money as we play along. Thank you.
Hamjambo. Mimi nitazungumza kwa Kiswahili. Naitwa Salim Swaleh. Na nafikiri tu nitie pondo yale ambayo yamezungumzwa na wenzangu hapa. Kwanza mimi ni mmoja kati ya sura mpya katika NTV. Na niseme kwamba ni fahari kubwa kuwa hapa. Lakini fahari haiwi fahari kwa sababu ya maneno tu. Fahari inakuja kwa vitendo. Waswahili wanasema muungwana ni vitendo. Kwa hiyo kubwa zaidi ni kwamba tutajizatiti, tutajitahidi kuhakikisha kwamba pamoja na misukosuko yote hiyo ambayo imezungumziwa hapa, tunarudisha ile fahari ya NMG ambayo imekuwepo na itazidi kuwepo. Asanteni.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Carter-Villas. I think you may know me better from radio. I was with radio for 19 years before joining NTV. I first started radio in 1996 when Capital FM first launched. I was one of the founding presenters. But I joined Nation Media Group 2014 is when I joined up. I was running a radio station in Seychelles. But when Nation FM closed down, and we hope, of course, to have radio back, that's when I moved across to NTV. And it's been very, very interesting. The experience has been brilliant. A lot of turbulence, a lot of changes in TV. But I still believe that Nation Media Group is still a very, very strong brand. There are, of course, transitions happening, which we see all the time in the media. I've seen it plenty of times, and it always seems to happen just after elections when you suddenly see a change, or just before elections. And this is no different as well. And I still believe that we are the strongest brand. We will be there, of course. I'm in sports with Brian and the team as well, Brian Etoile. We still do have the strongest sports brand. And of course, we will continue to go from strength to strength. You saw with us being the only station to broadcast the World Cup free to air. That went very, very well. And of course, we will continue to have more local and international sports. Very exciting times coming up in sports. You've heard, of course, that the Kenya Open, which Nation Media Group has been involved with for many, many years, has been upgraded now to European Tour status. So a world-class event that Nation Media Group has been a key partner. And not only that, the Safari Rally as well being a candidate event. We're hoping to have the WRC back in 2020. So we will be, of course, involved in all these. And we do hope, of course, to continue from strength to strength, and not only that, grow stronger as a brand. So thank you very much for coming today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies, I'm slightly under the weather, so my voice may not be as loud as Trevor's, though once in a while we do compete. Apologies again, my partner Olive Barrows is not here with us. She's out on assignment. And so, you know, they tell us, the first time we went on air, they told us, you know, your partner is like your wife on screen. So you will read a lot on the blogs, but we keep it very professional. I'm excited to be here. I mean, it's without a doubt, Nation Media Group is a very big brand. I've been here for 5 years now, but before, you know, joining, I was with the BBC in the UK, and before going to the BBC, I was with Nation. And I remember my last conversation with CEO Linus Gitahi then was when I went to him and I told him I want to have this international experience. He told me, the door is wide open. Anytime you want to come back, this is home. And one of the things I'm really excited about is that Nation is one very, very big family. We spend most of our time, at least I think 80% of our time, at work. So this is the only family that we have, apart from the families that we have back at home. So we all need each other, we all support each other, and when we go down together. When we go up together. And the transfer window apparently has ended, I think. So we are here to stay. So have no doubts. Don't believe everything you read in the blogs. The chairman said something that really, really also touches my heart about protection of journalists. And besides being an anchor, I'm an investigative and security editor, and I go out to cover these stories. And most times you go through a lot. Just this morning, I got a call, and it was a very intimidating call from some agency of a story that I covered. I'll pick that up with my bosses. But we go through this every day. But we are human, and at the end of the day, we are just messengers, and we just use our pens and the cameras to tell our stories. So the other thing, and this is the last thing that I'm so happy about, is that from all the places I've worked, Nation Media Group is one of those companies that really, really protect its employees. Whenever I go out to do stories, I'm not scared or worried that I'm not covered. I always know that there's someone behind my back. You may not know this, but many times when I go to cover stories with my, with the camera people and our drivers, there's arrangement that is normally done. And sometimes it can be irritating, but after every 30 minutes, I will always get a phone call from the security at Nation Media Group. Dennis, are you okay? Where exactly are you? We're going to call you after another 30 minutes. They call after 30 minutes. I've not seen that anywhere. So in terms of being covered by the company, we are very, very well covered. The only thing is when we get confronted by events and incidents like the one yesterday with Karim Rajan in Mombasa. So it is tough, and we're living in very, very tough times to tell the real, truthful story that is out there. But with your backing, and we're glad we have that, we are going to go very, very far in not only exposing what is happening to our society, but being the bridge between us and the public that wait on us to tell the stories that affect their lives. So again, thank you very much, and God bless you.
Hamjambo, Kaltu Njama, moja ya sura mpya ya NTV jioni, nikiwa na mwenzangu Dan Mule. Nafurahi kujiunga na shirika la Nation Media Group, na kama alivyosema Harit Salim, kitaeleweka.
Hamjambo. Assalamu alaikum. Naitwa Nuru Abdulaziz, nami pia ni moja ya sura mpya. Nafurahi sana kujiunga na shirika la NMG. Imekuwa ndoto yangu kwa miaka mingi sana kujiunga na shirika kama hili, kwani najua kwamba ni shirika ambalo linakuza upaji kama hivi wanahabari. Na natumai kwamba mimi na mwenzangu Harith Salim ambaye tunasoma pamoja, Harith Salim amekuwa kama model tangu kitambo kwangu, na ni furaha sana kwangu kwamba naweza kufanya kazi naye kwa sasa. Na natumai kwamba tutazidisha kufanya kazi kwa pamoja na tutaweza kujenga na kukuza shirika hili. Shukran sana.
Ladies and gentlemen, the faces of NMG. I learned this from Mike Eldon when I served as a facilitator at the depot. It's called the Pasha Club. So I want us all to please Pasha to the team, not forgetting the ones behind the scenes. I want them to also recognize Alex Mwangi. There's Constant Munde from BD. We have DN colleagues. So please, asanteni sana. Let's Pasha. All right, Pasha, 1, 2, 3. For the team working behind the scenes to bring you all the news and make sure that you're all covered. 1, 2, 3, Choma. All right, let's do that. Warmer. Just make it a bit warmer, right? I hope Mike, I'm doing it correctly. All right. Pasha, 1, 2, 3, Choma. Thank you, guys. Congratulations and appreciate it. I request for you to actually distribute yourselves across the table so that even our investors will interact with you in person even as we go along. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now your time to interact with us. We'll take a round of questions. Our chairman and our CEO will note them down, after which I'm going to call them up on stage, and then they'll respond to you. Is that okay? So who wants to go first? I should recognize that we have Juliet, Kenya, and Dennis, who are going around with the microphone. So please just raise up your hand, and then they'll, of course, be able to give it up to you. Bob, looks like you want to be the first one to ask a question. You want to jump out? All right. Okay, all right. Thanks, Bob. Agri, I told you I'm going to put you up in the deep end because, I mean, you're in Synovate. You see where the investors, or in terms of advertising, where it's going. When we say that, you know, after World Cup, we're actually #2, can you see that, especially on our NTV brand and our other platforms? Over to you.
Thanks, Laban. I think you really thrown me to the deep end. And because people are speaking Swahili here, I don't know whether to go with the Swahili. But just back to the deep end, I think it's very clear, and what the chairman has said captures it everywhere. We are also businessmen as people in the research world. And the pulse of the country's economy can be felt very well in the research world, because the 10% drop that you've seen there is the same 10% that we've recorded also in our revenue. So it's very, very true. But back to the numbers. How was the World Bank, how was the World Cup as a media property a boon to Nation? It was real. And I'm telling you, Nation grew from #3 to #2. And the best part of it all is that you've been able to maintain that #2 position moving on to this month. And one thing is, it's very, very challenging keeping audiences entertained, keeping them very, very long where you want them to be. Because again, right now you have very, very a different audience. I mean, the fact that people don't wait, I'm sure all of you have faced the challenge of the 3 screens in the house where everybody is interested in their own screen. That has really happened a lot. And that digitalization aspect of the media is a challenge that all media companies will have to grapple with. The other thing I would want to assure you is that, yes, your legacy is strong, you have a strong brand, and when you look at the media properties across Kenya, I think Nation as a media brand, still one of the top media brands. And I don't know whether that gives you revenue, but I know from the numbers I look at, it still looks very, very interesting. And I think, again, the bit that the chairman has raised with the GAA, it's very valid. I don't want to talk much about it, but it's very valid that there are some things that are too small. They should be left to the small players. They should not be part and parcel of what is driven. Thank you.
Thank you, Agri, MD from Synovate. All right, that's James. Okay, start with James here.
Good morning. My name is James Ngomeli, and my question is on the digital strategy. And I think if that's the direction you are going, there's a lot of education you need to do to the boards of companies, because digital is treated as a very small, minor incident in any strategy of marketing. So there is need to move back. There is need to move one step behind, not at the marketing people, but to the operations people in those organizations. Secondly, infrastructure communication. I'm an infrastructure, energy person, and there is a big opportunity in that area across the region. I look at projects across the region, and as land becomes a challenge, what is the role of digital, and can these issues sit in boards, in FDB, and putting money aside for such kind of communication? We are not seeing a nation coming up in that area. So there's a big opportunity in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. I know the banks are wondering how to do. They keep the money aside, but they end up drilling boreholes because they don't know what to do at the area of communication. So that's a big area you need to come in. Thank you.
Thank you, James. I should mention James Ngomeli actually organized a great energy debate. And we also want to partner with you in terms of, we're talking about modern digital content company. So Nation Leadership Forum is one of the best platforms you can actually leverage on. So we urge you to interact with us as well.
Thank you. You are good friends of mine. Thank you.
All right. Bella Ganga, Bloomberg.
Morning. Thank you for your presentation. My name is Bella from Bloomberg. My question goes to the chairman. You mentioned during the AGM that the board was considering a bonus, considering issuing bonus shares. Have you made a decision yet? And are you able to give us your sense of how the second half will be now that the political season is over? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Bella. Any other question? Yes, there's one right at the back.
Good morning. My name is Bidan from Old Mutual. I just want clarification on the cash flow position. I've seen it's dropped from 2.9 to around 2.4. Just wanted to know where that went.
Okay. I don't want to lock down anyone, but we can take that fast. Maybe we can take that round first, SG. All right.
I'll leave the bonus question to the chairman because it was directed to him. But James, I think you've raised very critical comments. They need to educate the boards of directors because they make the decisions on this, on matters of every organization. We've taken that on board, and I think we will work on that. And the whole thing of making sure that everybody, the people, the customers that we deal with, the clients, understands the value we get from our digital platform is part of the journey that we are going into. The point you've raised about infrastructure and communication, we are looking into that, and when we're ready, we'll have to talk to you. Then there was Bella. The second half, like we mentioned with the chairman, is that the first quarter was the most difficult one. We noticed an improvement, in fact, a very big improvement in the second quarter. The third quarter and fourth quarter, the signs are very good. We actually expect an improvement in that, in our overall performance. Then cash flow. Cash flow, I think the reason why the cash has dropped is because the government has not paid us. The cash is driven by the results at the top. So the performance has gone down, and the cash, therefore, has also gone down. But if you notice, the cash has not gone down as much as the overall performance. The drop in cash is about 15%, and overall performance drop is much bigger than that. So our debtors have grown, and when debtors grow, they reduce cash. The day we get paid by the government, that cash will more than double. So Chairman, maybe you can handle the bonus issue.
Thank you. I think it's quite simple. When you look at the cash flows, what we are owed, if we got the 700 million, we would be up on last year. Regarding the bonus shares, yes, that remains very much on our outlook. We have a board meeting next month, and can confirm to you that it is on the agenda. So we'll be looking at it, looking at all the parameters about the cash flows and everything else. And we will be making a statement next month regarding the possibility of a bonus shares. Yes, you also asked about maybe the outlook for the second half of this year, given that the political turbulence is now sort of settled. We are very upbeat that, in fact, the second half will be better than the first half. I think the outlook, everything seems to indicate in that way. And not just in the media world, but also across the businesses. I think when you look at the macroeconomics, I think they are looking up. The GDP is supposed or is expected to go up, and that is a good thing. For Nation Media Group particularly, we know the first half, particularly in the first quarter of this year, was not particularly good because circulation dipped very significantly in areas political where they thought Nation Media Group was not particularly supportive of their political viewpoints. I think now with the handshake, people are now much more tolerant to even buy the products from whichever quarter. So we are very upbeat about the second half of this year. Also, when you hear that NTV is number 2, that is not the space we want to be in. Once upon a time, we were number 1 in this country and in this market. And when we hired Alex, if Alex, you can start. When we had the lineup of the people we have around here, they are as good as anyone else in this market. So there is nothing magical about somebody being number 1 here. And that's where we want to be. We have the talent, we have the resources, we have the leadership to be number 1 in this market, and that's where we want to be. So, Alex, when we come for the next investors briefing, I hope you'll be able to stand here and tell the audience here, your shareholders, that you are number 1. I think we have given you the team. You have no excuse. I was very excited to see the lineup here about our new presenters. They are great. And also very refreshing, when you look at the screen. Sometimes it gets very tired, and we are very happy that our new people look very, very bright and very energetic. And that should be able to help you to get to number 1. So we are really upbeat. And with that, we should be able to improve our financial performance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just in view of time, I don't know if there's any burning one, but just really quickly. Chami, you wanted to mention something just really briefly before we...
Thank you very much. Group Chairman, Group CEO, members of the Board of Nation Media, senior management and staff, and those who have been in front here, anchors, and investors, analysts, thank you very much for your questions. And ladies and gentlemen, and also there are a few shareholders here and other stakeholders. Thank you very much. Now, Group Chairman, let me say this. I'm very delighted to be associated with Nation. Nation has now brought very good vision to the people of Kenya. You should not be intimidated by anybody, because everyone is a human being. Some are being guarded by policemen. You are not being guarded by anybody. But what you talk, God is hearing. Like today, God is with you, and the angels are with you. So nobody will intimidate you. Now, it is good enough that our new MD is supporting the devolution. The first time he came to our county, we met, he did very well. He distributed some books,
from the public. And so he gave our people something from Nation. So still Nation is there now. Last time you said people in the bush are not buying your magazine. They are now doing it because of his initiative. And it is good that we have energetic, somebody who was here as a finance director, now he's promoted, so he knows all about the Nation. Your team, as you say, your team has got to quality. Let us leave even number 1, number 2, number 3. Let us see about the quality of what Nation is doing to Kenyans and even to the world, because these magazines are not in Kenya only. They are everywhere. If you go to Kampala, everywhere. So I'm happy that you continue. You see, these people have refused to give us, I mean, they have made them, to give us more dividend because of these debts. Up there they are quarreling. Up there they are now demolishing houses by themselves because of their fitina. These things started long ago, but it's unearthed because of their own competition. So it is good that this gentleman has given me a time, but he's uneasy. So when I start speaking, kidogo, let me speak in favor of Nation, not anybody else, so that we more or less we shall get more performance and we shall be higher. This handshake, I think, is sometimes at night because it has been there, but still there's a lot of corruption. Corruption is still there, and it's a lot. Corruption is still there even during the handshake. You see what has happened with the Parliament getting 10,000 and bring down the sugar. And in Western Province, we depend on sugar. I am from there. So we feel so bad about, we elect people and they take their stomachs there. So this is not good in the society. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Asante sana kunisikiliza. Asante sana.
Thank you, Chami. Thank you. I honestly had to give you a chance because you've traveled all the way from Western. Our head of anchors, Mark Messiah, wants to say something, sir. And then there's one burning question. Maybe, let me see where that hand is. That will be the last one. All right, Mark, over to you.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Messiah, and I heard what Chair said earlier, and I just had to respond and speak for the old guard. I've been here, it'll be 10 years since I joined Nation. So I hope you're not tired with our faces. But just like wine, we are refined. We get better with time. So I'd like to assure everybody here that yes, indeed, with the new talent that we have, they're hungry, and they have the talent, they have everything to offer that the market has to offer, probably even better. So give them time and the support, and they'll grow. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
My name is Benjamin Getonga from CB Capital. I had a question regarding the contribution of print revenue to the total revenue, given that you attributed the decline in revenue mainly to decline in Daily Nation revenue. So, given that digital revenue has grown significantly, can you probably break it down to what percentage it accounts for? And also for the print revenue.
Yes,
I'll answer that one, yeah? And where's the gentleman? How are you? Good. Now, the contribution of the digital business is at 5%. The print business is at around 80%. And then the balance is with television. Is that okay? Thank you. So we want to leave.
We are not tired of old faces, and particularly because I'm one of them. I think, Trevor, I'm much older than you, and I hope you're not tired of my face. No, the point I wanted to make is just that sometimes, screens you need to refresh, just like we have even the setup and everything else. And we are very delighted at the new faces. And of course, our old faces is what really is the brand. And you know, people like yourselves, people know you, you're valued so much and so on, and everything else. So it's not, in fact, you are there to mentor the young tax that are coming. You are them there now, you know, so you mentor them, and that's how it goes. But we are very delighted, and I think what the CEO was saying is that we take pride, because like the other time we had, we were trying to get media interested in this anti-corruption war. And I was very delighted to see that the people who head all the major media houses around here, they have all come through the nation hands. And that's really a plus for us, because we have trained them, we have mentored them, we have developed them. And that's the way it should go. So we are not tired of old faces. We are very happy and proud of them. And we expect, in fact, we demand that you mentor the new people that are coming on the ground. Bonachami, I can assure you, we are not intimidated by anybody. In fact, what we are going through is not anything we haven't seen before. We have gone through even more difficult times during the Moi era. I can assure you it was much more ruthless than what we are experiencing today. So this is nothing new. And also the attack on the media freedom is nothing new. It is a continuous process, and it goes across the whole globe, including the America, where you can see what is going on between Trump and the rest of the American media. They have to fight for their space. And this is what I would also tell the journalists here. Your freedom is not going to come on a silver platter. You've got to fight for it. And it doesn't matter whether it is this government or the second or the coming government. There will always be a contradiction between, and also conflict of interest between the media and the people in authority. Because your role is to hold them accountable, and that makes them uncomfortable, and therefore there will always be that disquiet between the media and the establishment. So it's nothing new, but whenever and wherever it happens, you've got to come out fighting, because if you don't, you'll be trampled by the people in authority, and impunity will set in our country, and that's not what we want to do. Thank you.
Right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please let's appreciate our chairman and the CEO for those remarks and feedback to your question. Thank you very much for your time. I want to appreciate you all for creating time to be with us today. I normally break news on TV, but today I'm going to have Clifford do it. I'm told the Inspector General has ordered a probe into the arrest of the journalist yesterday, so I know it's something that, of course, something is happening right now, and we can actually push it on onto this. Has been following online, yes, together. All right, so at this point in time, I just now want to hand it over back to the senior management team, and Clifford Machoka is our head of corporate and regulatory affairs. He's going to give a vote of thanks, after which I'm told chairman and CEO have to catch a flight to Uganda, but breakfast is still served, and you're all welcome.
Thank you very much, Laban. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I think it's been a refreshing morning, and I'm going to make it very brief because of the pressures that we have with our group CEO and chairman, just catching a flight out of the country right now. But I would like to take this chance to actually, first of all, thank every single person of you who's actually been able to make it. We were quite worried when we put the date on a Friday because, you know, it's August holidays and a lot of people have gone on holiday. But thank you for being able to honor our invitations. We do not take the fact that you've worn suits on Friday for granted, and I think it's something that really honor you for that. We'd also like to thank the NMG senior management team who's been able to make it here, our news anchors as well, the editors who've actually, you know, taken their time from preparing the newspaper to come here and just, you know, talk to us and be with us. I also want to thank my team, which is led by Kenya. Where is Kenya? Muli, Dennis, and Naomi, who's not here. Thank you very much. I think this would not have been possible without you. Our suppliers, Nairobi Projectors, the NTV crew, Chris, who's helping us in terms of live streaming, and lastly, Laban. Thank you very much. We really thank you, honor you, appreciate you that you've been able to make it. Hope to see you next time. And in case of anything, after this, I think shortly after this, you'll have the presentation presentation uploaded on our website. And in case of any queries, clarifications, I'm going to stay behind for some time. You can just come to me and we'll have a chat around the results, our strategy, or any other clarification that may have. Asanteni sana, Mungu wabariki, and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.